December 17th, 1944. 3:15 p.m. Sergeant Jack Barnes is lying in a frozen ditch in Belgium, his finger on a detonator made from a car battery and field telephone wire. 150 meters away, 47 German tanks are rolling down a narrow road between the forest and a cliff face. He's been waiting for 6 hours. His hands are numb. His breath comes out in white clouds. The temperature is 14 degrees Fahrenheit. The lead Panther tank is now directly over the first buried charge. 5 kilograms of plastic explosive hidden 8 meters below the road surface. Then another, and another. 64 charges total, all connected by detonating cord. The German column keeps coming. Tigers, Panthers, half-tracks packed with SS troops. They think the road is clear. They think the Americans have run away. Barnes counts under his breath. 20 tanks on the trap, 30, 40. Corporal David Smith, lying next to him with binoculars, whispers, 42 units, that's maximum capacity. Do it now. Barnes closes the circuit. For 14 seconds, hell opens up on that Belgian road. 400 meters of asphalt disappear in a wall of fire and smoke. The shockwave flattens trees 100 meters away. Tank turrets fly through the air like toys. The lead Panthers are thrown upward, flipping end over end. The Tigers, 68 tons each, nosedive into craters 15 feet deep. The fuel tanks ignite. Ammunition cooks off inside the burning hulls. Secondary explosions rip through the German column for the next 20 minutes. When the smoke clears, 47 pieces of German armor are destroyed or disabled. Over 300 soldiers are dead or dying. An entire SS battle group has been annihilated in less than a minute. 1 engineer, 200 kilograms of explosives, 14 seconds. But this isn't where the story begins. To understand how Jack Barnes pulled off the most devastating single-person anti-tank operation in World War II, we need to go back 3 days, to the moment when 250,000 German soldiers and 1,400 tanks smashed through the American lines in the largest German offensive of the war. December 16, 1944, 5:30 a.m. The Ardennes Forest, Belgium. The 254th Engineer Combat Battalion is sleeping in their tents near the town of Bullingen. They've spent the last 3 months building roads, repairing bridges, clearing mines. Routine work, the kind of boring duty soldiers pray for. Sergeant Jack Barnes, 24 years old, from Brooklyn, New York, is writing a letter home by candlelight. Quote, "The war's almost over, Ma. The Germans are finished. I'll be home by spring." At exactly 05:30, 2,000 German artillery pieces open fire simultaneously along an 80-mile front. Barnes drops his pen. The ground shakes. The tent canvas ripples from the shock waves. Outside, the western horizon is lit up like daylight. Orange flashes. The roar is deafening. Lieutenant Colonel David Pergram, commander of the 291st Engineer Combat Battalion, runs out of his command post. He's been in combat since Normandy. He knows what this means. This isn't harassing fire. This isn't a raid. This is a full-scale German offensive. At 6 a.m., the shelling stops. Then comes something worse. The rumble of tank engines, hundreds of them, and the sound is getting closer. By 7 a.m., American positions all along the Ardennes are collapsing. The 106th Infantry Division, badly undermanned and inexperienced, is being overrun. The 28th Infantry Division is retreating in chaos. German panzer columns are pouring through the gaps. At 0800 hours, Colonel William Tuckerman, commander of the 254th Engineers, receives an urgent radio message from 1st Army headquarters. Quote, "All engineer units immediately convert to infantry. Enemy breakthrough imminent your sector. Hold at all costs. Reinforcements unavailable." Tuckerman stares at the message. His battalion has 600 men. They're engineers, not infantry. They have rifles, some machine guns, a few bazookas, no tanks, no artillery, no anti-tank guns. The German 12th SS Panzer Division is coming straight at them. 12,000 soldiers, 200 tanks, elite troops from Hitler Youth and Leibstandarte divisions. Tuckerman gathers his officers in the command tent. Maps are spread across a folding table. Everyone can hear the distant sound of gunfire getting closer. He looks at his men. Quote, "Gentlemen, we're engineers, but today we're infantry. We don't have armor, we don't have heavy weapons, but we have 4 tons of explosives, 200 anti-tank mines, and knowledge of every road and bridge in this sector. Sergeant Barnes raises his hand. Sir, give me a platoon and a truck full of explosives. I know where we can stop their tanks. December 16th, 1944, 5:30 a.m. The Ardennes Forest, Belgium. The 254th Engineer Combat Battalion is sleeping in their tents near the town of Bullingen. They've spent the last 3 months building roads, repairing bridges, clearing mines, routine work, the kind of boring duty soldiers pray for. Sergeant Jack Barnes, 24 years old, from Brooklyn, New York, is writing a letter home by candlelight. Quote, "The war's almost over, Ma. The Germans are finished. I'll be home by spring." At exactly 05:30, 2,000 German artillery pieces open fire simultaneously along an 80-mile front. Barnes drops his pen. The ground shakes. The tent canvas ripples from the shock waves. Outside, the western horizon is lit up like daylight. Orange flashes. The roar is deafening. Lieutenant Colonel David Pergram, commander of the 291st Engineer Combat Battalion, runs out of his command post. He's been in combat since Normandy. He knows what this means. This isn't harassing fire. This isn't a raid. This is a full-scale German offensive. At 6 a.m., the shelling stops. Then comes something worse, the rumble of tank engines, hundreds of them, and the sound is getting closer. By 7 a.m., American positions all along the Ardennes are collapsing. The 106th Infantry Division, badly undermanned and inexperienced, is being overrun. The 28th Infantry Division is retreating in chaos. German panzer columns are pouring through the gaps. At 0800 hours, Colonel William Tuckerman, commander of the 254th Engineers, receives an urgent radio message from 1st Army headquarters. Quote, "All engineer units immediately convert to infantry. Enemy breakthrough imminent your sector. Hold at all costs. Reinforcements unavailable." Tuckerman stares at the message. His battalion has 600 men. They're engineers, not infantry. They have rifles, some machine guns, a few bazookas, no tanks, no artillery, no anti-tank guns. The German 12th SS Panzer Division is coming straight at them. 12,000 soldiers, 200 tanks, elite troops from Hitler Youth and Leibstandarte divisions. Tuckerman gathers his officers in the command tent. Maps are spread across a folding table. Everyone can hear the distant sound of gunfire getting closer. He looks at his men. Quote, "Gentlemen, we're engineers. But today we're infantry. We don't have armor, we don't have heavy weapons, but we have 4 tons of explosives, 200 anti-tank mines, and knowledge of every road and bridge in this sector." Sergeant Barnes raises his hand. "Sir, give me a platoon and a truck full of explosives. I know where we can stop their tanks." To understand Barnes's plan, you need to understand the Ardennes. This isn't open tank country. This is a nightmare of narrow roads winding between steep hills and dense forests. The roads are barely wide enough for 2 vehicles. There are no fields for tanks to maneuver, no room to spread out. The German plan depends entirely on speed. They need to capture the bridges over the Meuse River within 48 hours. To do that, their tanks have to stay on the roads. Any delay, any bottleneck, and the entire offensive stalls. Barnes has been surveying these roads for 3 months. He knows every curve, every bridge, every choke point. He's an engineer. It's his job to know where to build roads, but now he's thinking about where to destroy them. He spreads a map on the hood of a Jeep. 3 of his men gather around. Corporal Smith, Private Charles Morgan, Private Thomas Higgins. Barnes points to a section of road near Bütgenbach. Quote, "Right here, 400 meters between this cliff face and the forest. The road's only 20 feet wide, no way around. If the Germans want to reach Malmedy, they have to come through here." Private Morgan asks, "Why not just blow the road now? Cut a gap they can't cross?" Barnes shakes his head. "They'll just bring up bridging equipment, pioneer companies. They'll have it fixed in 6 hours. No. We let them on the road. We let them think it's safe, and then we destroy the entire column at once." It's a gamble. If the Germans discover the trap, they'll send infantry to clear it. If the charges fail to detonate, the plan fails. If Barnes miscalculates the timing, he might only get a few tanks instead of the whole column. Colonel Tuckerman considers it, then nods. "You have 12 hours before the Germans reach that sector. Make it count." Barnes's team loads a 2.5-ton truck with explosives, C2 plastic explosive, primacord detonating cord, blasting caps, wiring. They grab shovels, picks, axes. At 10 a.m. on December 16th, they drive north toward Bütgenbach. Behind them, they can hear the sound of the German offensive grinding closer, artillery, machine gun fire. The scream of Nebelwerfer rockets. They have half a day to build the deadliest trap of World War II. 6 p.m. December 16th, the road near Bütgenbach. It's dark. The temperature is dropping fast. Frost forms on the shovels. Barnes's team of 23 engineers starts digging. The problem? The ground is frozen solid. Pickaxes barely make a dent. "We don't have time for this," mutters Private Higgins, swinging his pick. "The Germans will be here by morning." Barnes thinks fast. "Forget digging deep. We'll use shape charges. Plant them just under the road surface. The asphalt will channel the blast downward." It's risky. Shallow charges are easier for German engineers to detect, but they don't have a choice. The team works in pairs. One man jackhammers through the asphalt with a pick, the other places the charge. A 5-kilogram block of C2 wrapped in waterproof canvas, nestled in a wooden box. Every 8 meters, another charge. 64 total along 400 meters of road. Now comes the technical part. Barnes unspools 500 meters of primacord, a thin rope packed with P-etin explosive that burns at 6,000 meters per second. This connects all the charges in sequence. One detonation triggers the whole chain instantly. But there's a problem. Primacord needs an initial blast to set it off. Barnes improvises. He wires an electrical detonator to a captured German artillery fuse connected to field telephone wire and a car battery. If the battery fails, he has a backup, a second battery on a separate circuit. By midnight, the charges are in place. The team covers them with dirt and broken asphalt. From the road, you can't tell anything's wrong. Barnes runs the detonator wires to a foxhole 150 meters from the road. He camouflages the position with branches and snow. Then he tests the circuit with a multimeter. The needle jumps. Both systems are live. Private Morgan collapses against the side of the foxhole. That's it? We just wait now? Barnes nods, staring at the dark road. We wait for them to come. Somewhere in the darkness, maybe 3 kilometers away, they can hear the rumble of tank engines. The Germans are moving up under cover of night. December 17th, 7 a.m. American positions all along the northern shoulder of the Bulge are collapsing. The German 1st SS Panzer Division under Lieutenant Colonel Jochen Peiper is spearheading the attack. This is an elite unit. Veterans of the Eastern Front, brutal, efficient, unstoppable. Kampfgruppe Peiper. Peiper's battle group consists of 72 tanks and 30 half-tracks carrying 2,500 troops. Their mission, punch through to the Meuse River and capture the Allied fuel dumps at Spa. At 1 p.m., Peiper's column reaches the crossroads at Bonnier, near Malmedy. American artillery troops from Battery B, 285th Field Artillery Observation Battalion, are retreating down the road. They run straight into the German advance. The Americans surrender. 120 men, hands up, standing in a field. Peiper's SS troops open fire with machine guns. 84 Americans are murdered in cold blood. It will become known as the Malmedy Massacre. Word spreads through the American lines within hours. The Germans aren't taking prisoners. This is a fight to the death. At the 254th Engineer Battalion command post, Colonel Tuckerman receives the report. He looks at his officers. Quote, "The SS is 3 kilometers from Barnes's position. If he doesn't stop them there, they'll reach our fuel dumps by tonight. And if that happens, Peiper will have enough gas to reach the Meuse." He gets on the radio. "Barnes, this is Tuckerman. Peiper's group is heading your way. ETA 2 hours. You are authorized to engage at will." In the foxhole, Barnes checks the detonator one more time. He looks at Corporal Smith and Private Morgan. Quote, "This is it. No second chances. We blow the column or we're dead." At 3:05 p.m. they hear it. The grinding roar of tracked vehicles, trees swaying as the column pushes through the forest. Then the first tank appears on the road. A Panther, 75mm gun, sloped armor, one of the best tanks in the German arsenal. Behind it, another Panther, then a Tiger II, massive, 88mm gun, armor so thick American Shermans can barely scratch it. The column keeps coming. More Panthers, more Tigers, half-tracks packed with SS infantry in winter camouflage, supply trucks, command vehicles. Barnes doesn't move. His hand rests on the detonator, but he waits. Corporal Smith counts through binoculars. 10 vehicles, 15, 20. The lead Panther is directly over the center of the kill zone now, but Barnes needs more. He needs the entire column bottlenecked on the road with no room to escape. 30, 35. The column stretches for 800 meters now, front to back packed tight on the narrow road. 40, 42. Smith turns to Barnes. That's maximum capacity. If we wait longer, some will be off the trap. Fire now. Barnes closes his eyes, takes a breath, and twists the detonator handle. The world explodes. 320 kilograms of C2 plastic explosive detonate simultaneously across 400 meters. The road surface lifts. A rippling wave of asphalt and earth rising into the air like a blanket being shaken. The lead Panther tank, weighing 45 tons, is launched 3 meters into the air. The belly armor, only 16 millimeters thick, tears open. The ammunition inside cooks off. The tank splits in half mid-air, the turret flying off into the forest. The second Panther flips end over end, crushing its own crew. The third crashes into a crater 15 feet deep and disappears below road level. The Tiger IIs, too heavy to be thrown, nosedive straight down as the road collapses beneath them. 68 tons sinking into holes that swallow them whole. The crews try to escape, but the hatches are jammed by twisted metal. Half-tracks accordion together as drivers slam on brakes. Too late. The vehicles behind plow into them at full speed. Metal crunches. Bodies are thrown from open tops. Then the fuel tanks ignite. A rolling fireball sweeps the length of the column. Diesel and gasoline from ruptured tanks spray across the wreckage and ignite in a firestorm. Men stagger out of burning vehicles, their uniforms on fire, and collapse in the snow. Secondary explosions start. Tank ammunition cooking off, high explosive shells detonating inside the hulls. Each blast tears the tank apart from the inside, blowing hatches 50 meters into the air. Barnes and his team are thrown backward by the shockwave, even at 150 meters distance. Dirt and debris rain down. Tree branches crash around them. When the initial blast fades, Barnes lifts his head. The road is gone, replaced by a smoking canyon of craters and burning metal. 47 vehicles destroyed or disabled, over 300 Germans dead or dying. Private Morgan whispers, "Jesus Christ, you did it. You actually did it." But Barnes isn't celebrating. He's staring at the far end of the column, where German infantry are pouring out of the surviving vehicles. 2 companies, maybe 300 men, and they're spreading out, searching for whoever triggered the trap. Smith sees it too. "They're going to find us. We need to move. Now." Too late. A German voice shouts in the distance, an officer pointing toward their position. Mortar rounds start falling. The first mortar shell hits 20 meters short, throwing up a geyser of frozen earth. The second lands 10 meters away. They're bracketing the position. "Return fire!" Barnes shouts. "Keep their heads down!" The 23 engineers open up with M1 Garand rifles and 2 Browning machine guns. The Germans, caught in the open, drop into the snow for cover, but they have superior numbers and they're advancing fast. 200 SS Panzer Grenadiers charging across 300 meters of open ground. They're pros, moving in fire and maneuver teams, covering each other. Barnes fires his Garand until the clip pings empty, reloads, fires again. Next to him, Corporal Smith is working the Browning, sweeping bursts across the German line. The enemy gets closer, 100 meters, 80, 70. Private Higgins throws grenades as fast as he can pull the pins. The explosions slow the German advance, but don't stop it. A mortar shell lands directly on the left side of the foxhole. Private Morgan takes shrapnel in the leg and goes down screaming. Another engineer, Private First Class Kelly, is killed instantly, half his body gone. Barnes grabs Morgan and drags him deeper into the foxhole. "Medic! Medic!" But there's no medic. They're engineers, not infantry. They have basic first aid kits, nothing more. Barnes wraps a tourniquet around Morgan's thigh, yanking it tight. Morgan bites down on a leather strap to keep from screaming. The Germans are 50 meters away now. Barnes can see their faces, young, hard, determined. He makes the call. "We can't hold. Grab the wounded and fall back to the secondary position." The engineers scramble out of the foxhole and sprint into the forest. They're carrying 3 wounded men. The Germans see them running and pour on the fire. Bullets snap through the trees. Private Higgins stumbles and falls, a round through his back. Barnes runs back, hauls Higgins over his shoulder in a fireman's carry. The man weighs 180 pounds plus gear. Barnes is staggering under the weight, 60 meters to the tree line, 50, 40. A bullet cracks past his head so close he feels the air pressure. Then they're in the trees, moving through the dense underbrush. The Germans don't pursue into the forest. They're tankers and mechanized infantry, not woodsmen. They stay on the road, securing the wreckage. Barnes's team runs 2 kilometers through the woods before stopping at a prearranged fallback position, a logging road where they'd hidden a truck. They load the wounded and drive south toward Bütgenbach. Final count, 3 men dead, 8 wounded, 2 critical. But the mission succeeded, 47 tanks destroyed, Piper's advance delayed by at least 18 hours. When they reach the American lines, Colonel Tuckerman is waiting. He sees the burned, bloodied men climbing out of the truck. Barnes salutes. "Mission accomplished, sir. Road is impassable. Enemy column destroyed." Tuckerman nods slowly, then says, "Good work, Sergeant, but we're not done. German radio intercepts say Piper found an alternate route. He's moving towards Stavelot. There's a bridge over the Amblev River there. If he captures it intact, he's back on schedule." Barnes looks at the colonel. "How much explosives do we have left?" 2 tons, maybe more. Then I know how to stop him." December 18th, 2 a.m. Stavelot is a small Belgian town on the Amblev River. The river is deep, 8 meters, with a strong current. There's only one bridge suitable for heavy armor. American forces are retreating through Stavelot in chaos. The bridge should be blown, but if they destroy it now, they'll trap their own troops on the wrong side. Colonel Tuckerman gives Barnes a nearly impossible order. Quote, "Prepare the bridge for demolition, but don't blow it until our last units are across. Then destroy it the second the Germans show up. Timing is everything." Barnes drives to Stavelot with a fresh team, volunteers from the 291st Engineer Battalion who heard what he did at Bütgenbach and want in. They arrive at 4 a.m. The town is under sporadic artillery fire. Civilians are fleeing. American trucks and half-tracks are streaming across the bridge in a steady flow. Barnes surveys the structure. It's a stone arch bridge built in the 1800s, solid. To bring it down, he'll need to destroy at least 3 of the support piers simultaneously. His team offloads 180 kilograms of TNT, old-fashioned but reliable. They wire the charges to the base of 3 central piers, below the waterline where the Germans won't easily spot them. The detonation system is the problem. They need to be able to blow the bridge instantly, but they also need a backup in case the primary system fails. Barnes designs a dual-circuit setup. Primary, electrical detonators wired to a command post 200 meters away. Backup, time delay fuses set for 5 minutes, activated by pulling a safety pin. By 8 a.m., the bridge is ready. Now they wait. American units keep crossing, tanks, infantry, artillery. A seemingly endless stream of retreating troops. Barnes watches from a shelled-out building, his hand near the detonator. At 11 a.m., scouts report German tanks approaching from the north. Piper's vanguard, ETA 30 minutes. Tuckerman radios Barnes. "How many of our guys are still on the north side?" Barnes counts the vehicles. "At least 50 trucks, maybe more, and a platoon of infantry, maybe 40 men. You blow that bridge when the last American is across, not 1 second before and not 1 second after. Understood?" "Understood." 11:15 a.m. German tanks are visible in the distance, 2 kilometers out and closing fast. The last American vehicles race toward the bridge. Drivers push their engines to the limit. An overloaded truck loses traction on the icy approach and slides sideways, blocking 1 lane. "Move that truck," Barnes shouts into the radio. "We're out of time." Infantry soldiers jump out and physically push the truck while the driver guns the engine. The vehicle lurches forward, clears the lane, and roars across the bridge. Now there's just 1 platoon of infantry left. 40 men on foot, running flat out. German scouts on motorcycles appear at the north end of the town. They see the Americans and open fire with MP-40 submachine guns. 2 American soldiers go down. The platoon returns fire but keeps moving. They're 300 meters from the bridge, 250, 200. Barnes can see German tanks now, Panthers rolling into Stavelot from the north. They're 1,000 meters away. The lead Panther fires its 75mm gun. The shell hits a building 50 meters from Barnes's position, collapsing the wall. Come on, Barnes mutters, watching the running infantry. 150 meters, 175. The first German motorcycle scout reaches the bridge approach. He's 50 meters ahead of the American infantry, accelerating toward the bridge. Barnes makes a split-second decision. He grabs an M1 Garand, aims, and fires. The shot hits the motorcycle's front tire. The bike flips, throwing the rider off. The scout tumbles across the pavement and lies still. The American infantry platoon reaches the bridge. They sprint across, boots pounding on stone. Behind them, German tanks are 300 meters out, 200. They're racing for the bridge, trying to capture it intact before the Americans can blow it. The last American soldier reaches the south side of the bridge. He collapses, gasping for air. German tanks are 100 meters from the bridge. Barnes grabs the detonator. "Do it!" Colonel Tuckerman shouts over the radio. 75 meters. Barnes closes the circuit. The explosions rip through the 3 central piers simultaneously. 180 kilograms of TNT detonating underwater creates a massive hydrostatic shock. The stone piers shatter. For a moment, the bridge holds. The arches sag but don't collapse. Then, gravity takes over. The center span drops into the river in slow motion, massive stone blocks tumbling into the current. The roadway buckles and folds like cardboard. The lead Panther tank is 30 meters from the bridge when the collapse happens. The driver slams on the brakes, but momentum carries the 50-ton vehicle forward. The tank skids on ice, hits the edge of the collapsed bridge, and plunges nose first into the Amblève River. The crew tries to bail out, but the hatches won't open under water pressure. The tank sinks to the bottom, trapping them inside. The second Panther stops just in time, treads locked, skidding to a halt 10 meters from the edge. Behind the tanks, German half-tracks and trucks screech to a stop. Piper's entire column is bottled up on the north bank of the Amblève. They're stuck. From his command post, Colonel Tuckerman watches through binoculars. Then he turns to Barnes. "You just saved the First Army fuel dumps. If Piper had gotten across that bridge, he'd have had a clear shot at Spa. But now he's trapped." Barnes doesn't smile. He's staring at the river, at the bubbles rising from where the Panther sank. He knows there are men drowning down there. "Sir, how many bridges are left between here and the Meuse?" "None that'll support armor. You destroyed the only one." The Battle of the Bulge continues for 9 more days. The 254th Engineer Combat Battalion fights as infantry the entire time. They blow 14 more bridges. They lay 47 minefields. They fight off German patrols in brutal close-quarters combat. On December 19th, Barnes and his team ambush a German supply convoy, destroying 8 trucks carrying ammunition and fuel for Piper's stalled column. On December 21st, they hold a road junction against a German infantry assault for 6 hours, outnumbered 5-1 until reinforcements arrive. On December 23rd, the weather clears and Allied aircraft finally take to the skies. American P-47 Thunderbolts strafe German positions. Supply drops reach the surrounded 101st Airborne Division at Bastogne. By December 26th, the German offensive is stopped. Piper's battle group, out of fuel and ammunition, abandons its vehicles and retreats on foot. The 1st SS Panzer Division lost over 100 tanks in the Bulge, most of them to logistical collapse after engineers like Barnes cut their supply lines. The human cost is staggering. The 254th Engineer Combat Battalion entered the battle with 977 men. By December 25th, they've lost 97 killed and 143 wounded, a 25% casualty rate. For engineer units that were never trained or equipped for frontline combat. These losses are catastrophic. But their sacrifice buys time. Time for the 101st Airborne to dig in at Bastogne. Time for Patton's Third Army to counterattack from the south. Time for the Allies to stabilize the line and turn the German offensive into a German disaster. On January 1st, 1945, the 254th is pulled off the line for rest and refit. They're sent to a rear area near Liège. Barnes sits in a tent cleaning his rifle. He hasn't slept more than 2 hours at a time in 16 days. His hands shake from exhaustion. Colonel Tuckerman enters the tent. "Barnes, on your feet." Barnes stands, swaying slightly. Tuckerman pins a medal to Barnes's uniform, the Silver Star. Quote, "For gallantry in action against an armed enemy, Sergeant Barnes, through exceptional courage and technical expertise, destroyed 47 enemy armored vehicles and prevented the enemy from capturing strategic objectives. His actions directly contributed to the successful defense of the northern shoulder and the ultimate failure of the German offensive." Barnes stares at the medal. Then he looks at the colonel. "Sir, what about the men we lost? Morgan, Kelly, Higgins? Do they get medals?" Tuckerman nods. "Every man in this battalion is being recognized. But you need to understand something, Sergeant. What you did on that road at Bütgenbach, one engineer destroying an entire tank column, there's nothing like it in military history. You changed the course of the battle." Barnes shakes his head. "I just did my job, sir. Exploding things. That's what engineers do." The war ends in May 1945. The 254th Engineer Combat Battalion receives the Presidential Unit Citation for their actions in the Bulge. They also received the French Croix de Guerre with Silver Star. Jack Barnes returns to Brooklyn in October 1945. He's 25 years old. He's seen things no one should see. He's killed hundreds of men with carefully placed explosives. He doesn't talk about the war, not to his family, not to his friends. He puts the Silver Star in a drawer and tries to forget. He uses his GI Bill benefits to study civil engineering at City College of New York. In 1948, he opens a construction company. He builds bridges, roads, schools, things that create, not destroy. He marries in 1950, has 3 kids, lives a quiet life. For 44 years, almost no one knows what Jack Barnes did in Belgium. Then, in 1989, the 254th Engineer Combat Battalion holds a reunion in Washington, D.C. 50 veterans attend. Many of them are meeting for the first time since the war. A military historian interviewing the veterans asks Barnes about Bütgenbach. Barnes, now 69 years old, is reluctant to speak, but the other veterans encourage him. Finally, he tells the story. All of it. The 14-second explosion, the 47 tanks, the counterattack, the bridge at Stavelot. When he finishes, the room is silent. Then, one of the veterans, a former lieutenant named Robert Chen, stands up. Quote, "I was in the 7th Armored Division at St. Vith. We were surrounded, out of ammunition, about to be overrun. Then we got word that the SS column attacking from the north had been destroyed by engineers. That was you. You saved our lives, all of us." Other veterans nod. Men who fought at Bastogne, men who held the line at Elsenborn Ridge. They all knew that someone had stopped the SS tanks on the northern shoulder, but they never knew who. Jack Barnes, the engineer from Brooklyn who destroyed 47 tanks in 14 seconds, finally gets the recognition he deserves. He passes away in 1998 at the age of 78. His obituary in the New York Times mentions his Silver Star but gives few details. His family donates his uniform and medals to the U.S. Army Engineer Museum at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. They're on display today. In Bütgenbach, Belgium, there's a small memorial marker on the side of the road. It commemorates the American engineers who fought there in December 1944. Local historians know the story of the massive explosion that destroyed a German tank column. They call it the Miracle of Bütgenbach, but it wasn't a miracle. It was one man with 200 kilograms of explosives, perfect knowledge of the terrain, ice-cold nerves, and the willingness to risk everything to stop an advancing army. Combat engineers don't get the glory that infantry or tankers receive. They build roads, clear mines, repair bridges. But in December 1944, when the German Reich made its last desperate gamble to change the course of World War II, it was the engineers who held the line, and it was Sergeant Jack Barnes who proved that sometimes one man in the right place with the right tools can change history. 47 tanks, 14 seconds, one engineer. The Battle of the Bulge was won by thousands of soldiers, but it was held by men like Jack Barnes, who understood that war isn't just about firepower, it's about timing, terrain, and the courage to push the button when everything depends on it.